Hello. Hello, hello, hello. We literally have the first warrior, witch, and wicked woman of the year over here on Stone the Crow. We have Pinwheel Art. Thank you so much, Pinwheel. Why are you muted? Can I unmute you?
Oh, yeah, I just muted because the washer was just finishing off,
Oh,
so
that's right.
sorry.
No. Thank you for coming on. I have been and I am a fangirl, so I will admit that I'm a fan of yours and have been a fan since I've come across you in chats and over at Getter. Hey, Di, and hi, VF, and what and I hate the word resonated, but what really jammed with me was being that I'm a mother of older babies now. My babies, my oldest is 24, my youngest is 22.
Wow.
That I don't believe I got all the information needed to make the decision to how I had my children. I believe that under the banner of informed consent, mothers aren't getting the full information that they need to be able to make a decent decision on how and where they birth their babies.
Mm-hmm.
So
Accurate.
with my boy, he was a big fella, and we had issues with him being jaundiced after I had him.
Hmm.
And with my daughter, I did hemorrhage quite badly with her. But knowing what I know now, I still don't think that these things that they get us to worry about,
Mm-hmm.
um, not like they're we were led to believe that these things are out of our control
Mm-hmm.
as mothers. And I now know that this is absolutely not true. Um, what you've brought to my attention is such invaluable information that if the average everyday woman knew this, it would just make life and also bonding with their children that much easier, that much better. We've gone from, I suppose, like so used to the medical establishment
Mm-hmm.
that our own mothers aren't actually giving us the information that we need to make those decisions either, because my mother trusted the establishment,
Mm-hmm.
didn't think it was any cause to one say, hey, you were born with jaundice, be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you are a multi-raced individual,
Mm-hmm.
and you had something on your bum called a Mongolian spot, which does
Yes.
normally disappear until when you're about two, last until you're about two, but don't worry about it. But
Mm-hmm.
your children will probably have this. So taking their nappies off in public when their bums look like they're bruised, it's probably not the best look for you. My mum never told me anything about this. It was the midwife who said to me, do you have dark ancestry? And I said, yeah, why? And she goes, because your baby has this huge Mongolian spot. When
Mm-hmm.
we looked at my babies, they looked, both bums were black, both bum
Mm-hmm.
cheeks were black, and my daughter was halfway up on her back. And I'd never even heard of it before.
Yep. Yep. I hadn't heard of it either until my niece was born, and she had the Mongolian mark on her bum. Yep.
Yeah, and I
Not
had a
something a
woman
lot of
over in
women
my
know.
house bathing that baby, and
Mm-hmm.
she literally went ballistic at me for whacking my child. And
Oh,
I'm like, no, that's not what this
mm-mm.
is. You
I've
know,
even
this,
heard of like DSS, and stuff being called, or child services, protective services,
yes,
for that, and that's insane because this should be a known phenomenon. Like, you
it should
know,
be. There's so many mixed race people
yeah.
on this planet now. And the wild thing is, are you ready for this, Pinwheel? Are you ready for the wild thing about this? It only attaches itself to the female gene in my family.
Oh
My
wow.
uncle and my cousins, kids aren't born that way. They do
Mm.
not have the Mongolian spot at all. It
Oh wow.
only attaches itself to the birthing woman's
Yeah. Yeah.
child.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, because I didn't know too much about it. I mean, I looked it up and I know it's a thing, but yeah, that's amazing that you were able to find
Yeah,
out that
isn't
information.
it? Because like I actually was like looking at my uncle's children with their babies. I'm like, where's their black bums?
Why don't they have bums like my babies?
They don't have black bums.
She wants to be part of the show.
So we've just worked out that Bubba here is 6 months old tomorrow, your time, but 6 months old my time.
6 months. She's 6 months there already. Yeah. Yep. She's getting so big. So she's she's starting to try to get into everything and crawl everywhere and scooting. She's not like on her hands and knees yet, but she's scooting everywhere and eating my notes.
Is she a little elbow crawler?
Yeah, well, mostly pulls herself with her hands. She'll kind of like sit up and then she'll kind of flop back down and then she'll like pull herself because she's trying to do the walk, but she can't. But she's getting there. She's working hard at it.
There's no way that she's going to wait. We've got,
no, she wants to
follow.
I'm like, wait. You have to be my last one, so you have to go slow. So just wait, just hold off, just stay like this is gonna sound bad. Stay immobile. Like, don't move too much yet. Don't start walking because my one before her, she was walking by the time she was 8 months old. She got up at 6 months. She didn't want to crawl. She was like, screw this crawling thing. She got up, started standing at 6 months, and was running by 8 months. And I was just like, no, this can't be. So that was my daughter too. She had to have another one.
so was the one up and walking by 8 months, running by 8 months? Because that was my daughter too.
Yeah.
Was she a really slight girl, like a little slight baby? Because my daughter was like a sparrow, and I think that's part of it. Where my son was a little tubby, and because he was so tubby, he just couldn't get himself off the ground.
Yeah, I guess compared to my other girls, she was because now that when I think about it, because she had started getting up and moving, they start to kind of lose a lot of that chunk when they start to like get real mobile. I think she was a little bit. I think they all kind of are. But my girls end up being nice and roly poly. So my boy was a tiny little thing, but the girls.
No, my son was. We call him the Michelin Man, which is that tire dude. The little tire. He was so.
Yeah. That was my especially my first and second girls. They were exactly the little tire guy. Hold on a second. I gotta just adjust her. She's going under my chair. Okay. All right.
Well, welcome to any new visitors to this channel. So you've got a list in the description. There's a list of links to Pinwheel. Pinwheel makes stickers and is quite a great artist as well as a great mom.
I mean, I try my best. You start out thinking you're going to do all these things so perfect, and then you're like, oh, I'm just a failure. But you're not. You're just doing your best.
No, and it's I think too, especially art-wise, we sort of struggle with putting it out there, and then I look at other people's art that are like making good money out of their art and thinking, that's a doodle. What the hell? What is that? And I think that's women too. We just are worried with when we put something out there, how it gets critiqued, how it gets taken.
Yep. We're so used to being critiqued, right? So
that's right. And like, so I was at a friend's place the other day and I was pretty excited and I was talking about having you on, and this is a bloke, and he said to me, oh, I don't know about that. Yeah. I said, don't know about what? And he goes, oh, I don't know about my missus, having babies, or my daughter having babies out of hospital. Don't know about that. And I'm like, what about you talk to them and listen to them and see, because they're the ones that are actually got the body and doing the work. I thought, wow, like I can't even bring this up as a conversation to a man without him automatically saying, no, I don't think that's right.
They wouldn't, because that's why we're in the system, right? Because they didn't think it was right. And so they said, we're going to save you. And then they proceeded to kill us. So you know how that goes. But I see that a lot. And these men don't realize that it is the woman and, her body and her baby that she's birthing, and it's her dance and her choices. I've seen this so much where women struggle with this with their partners or family who just want to, you know, criticize them, who are not educated on these things, and just really make it hard. And you shouldn't have to fight so hard for it. Like, you should be able to make your choices in childbirth, and, you know, in these very important life, like in death, you should be able to choose how that's going to happen for you. And all these things should be respected. I don't think anybody should be coerced or shamed or any kind of manipulation into what's going to happen to your own body, you know, because that's where the trauma comes from. I see lots and lots of trauma. We see lots of trauma in the birth world because so many women are coerced into doing things that they, you know, their instincts, their heart is telling them is wrong. But they just don't have the, you know, the frame of reference. They don't have the information. It's not given to them. In the hospitals, they'll give you very minimal information, like maybe a fact sheet, you know, and that's considered informed consent, where they give you this sheet. They'll give it to you in labor. They will give you a sheet in labor, say, sign this, and consider that informed consent. I mean, it's really a very broken system. It's incredibly broken. And this goes almost across the globe. There are places that have better, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Better protocol, I guess, better treatments, better, just better care. But pretty much across the world, across the globe, it's women are coming out traumatized, you know?
Absolutely.
And the thing is, we know from studies and just from women's experiences, just if you go and talk to one of these like groups on Facebook or whatever social media you use, you'll see these women's stories, and there's just so much trauma. And then we see where they're healing, and where they're healing is being able to have some control, to feel like they're in control, to feel knowledgeable, to feel, you know, heard, and like they're making their own choices. And that's happening outside of the hospitals, you know, and we know from studies that the midwifery care, not only they'll say that the outcomes are the same as hospital birth, okay, but where it really makes a difference is in how the women feel after the experience.
Absolutely.
So they're not left traumatized like they are in hospitals. It happens, but not like in hospitals. So we know this works. We know that midwifery care, and I'm going to talk about, you know, what I do, free birth as well. But for the general population, considering that in the US, I think it's gone up a little bit since the pandemic, but the percentage was like 1%. And I think it's gone up, like, I think they said like maybe 12%. It's gone up 12%. So it's not at 12%. It's gone. So it's going up, but most women aren't ready to do things the way that I do it. But we do know that the best care would be midwifery care with continuity of care to hospital when necessary. Like, say something comes up, there's a test you get that you choose to get, and you should always have this choice. So you choose to get this test, and then you decide you need to get some hospital care. We know that's the best care. Or if you're at your home, your birth, you're in labor, your baby's, on its way, you're struggling, whatever, you have a issue, you have to transfer. That's the best care, is, being in your space, feeling comfortable, letting that labor progress. And then when something is happening, then taking it to the medicine part of things.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
There's a beautiful quote, and I cannot remember the name of the woman. And I say this all the time, so it's just left my mind right now. But birth is as safe as life gets. That's the quote. And I love it. And there's another one.
That is just, well,
like, think about it. And the thing is, if you just think about it a little bit, you start to kind of break it down. Wait, there's 8 billion people on the planet? 8 billion people, and you're trying to tell me that women's bodies don't work? And that, what, are we supposed to give men the credit for that? Is that what you're telling me? That it was all these medical men that did? I mean, we've only had birth in hospitals for a little over 100 years.
That's right. That's exactly
So
right.
there's no way. I'm sorry. And then, in anthropology, I've read so much stuff. So like I said, I could talk about this for days.
They literally come in with a system and taken it off women,
yep,
and then sold it back to women.
Yep, exactly.
It's absolutely nuts. Like, I hemorrhaged badly with my daughter, But knowing, if I had that knowledge of, okay, these things could happen, it's also just as fast for a paramedic to get, well, it's faster for a paramedic to get to me if I have any difficulties than it is for me to get my in the car with my husband, drive up to that hospital. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just.
And the thing is, with hemorrhage being a common complication, it's easily taken care of. That's what a lot of women don't understand either. And they don't understand that midwives carry a lot of these things that will help you with them to home births. In a lot of cases, they will carry, Pitocin or tinctures or herbs. But then I've also heard, midwives say that they have never seen a chunk of placenta or sucking on the cord. These are also two options to stop hemorrhage. They've never seen that not work. So
it wasn't even there. Not
even a thing, right?
Not even offered.
This women wisdom, I call it women's science. It's this women wisdom that they have tried to kill. They've tried to snuff it out, and they haven't. We keep digging our way up out of the dirt. We keep on doing it, and they keep trying to smash us. We were doing it for a few years ago. We were doing really well. We were digging and digging and digging, and we were like inspiring women, and we were gathering, and we were creating these groups and educating, each other. And then now, you know what they're doing? They're doing it again. They're doing this again. This book it's short, really small book, but it's great. Witches, midwives, and nurses. So it just gives like a nice compact little history of how they destroyed witches, midwives, and and
that might be a good book for the book club in the future.
Oh yeah, it's very short, so you could read it, real quick and then discuss it. It's just lays out the facts, like how the healers and the women were there, and then the men took from them and their knowledge and wisdom, and the women thought, oh well, they can help some of our women who we can't necessarily, because midwives aren't doing like surgery, which would be a rarity. But they took that, and like we were talking about earlier, this propaganda, they took it and they said, oh well, you need us because these women are dying, so you need us, and got to take you all into the hospital. And then it's just blanketed across, right? And they take everybody into the hospital, and that's where we're at now. And they're killing us, and they're doing it again. So what we were doing is we were starting to see more midwife and doula education programs and things like that. So now what they're doing is they're starting to train these midwives. They're calling them midwives. We call them medwives. It's not the nicest term, but they're medicalized. They are highly medicalized. They are nurses. They are trained by this system, the patriarchal male, doctor system. They're trained by that. And so they're telling you, here's your midwife, here's your doula. But what they are is they're now trained to be accomplices in your abuse by the system. Absolutely. Instead of that holistic care that your mind says they're supposed to give, but that's not what they're giving anymore. So they make it look like they're, providing women options, but they're just trying to destroy the options, really. It's another, sleight of hand. It's another trick.
Absolutely. When I had my baby girl, and she had a tiny little head, and she flew out, and I hemorrhaged. And I just remember them passing her to my hubby, and I just going, oh, I'm not really feeling so good in my belly. Like expressing that loudly, but it was a thought in my head that I vocalized.
Yeah.
Oh, then all the midwives came from nowhere and just pushed on my stomach, pushed and held. And like that pain was really excruciating, but they were making a blood clot. They were stopping. It was these women that just come and just did this ritual of forever. They've always done this, and it really dawned on me, sort of reflecting back on what you've said, going, wow, I didn't have to be in a hospital even when I hemorrhaged with my baby like that.
And I'm going to wow you some more, because part of the problem with hemorrhage is messing with that process, your baby being taken away, because it works together. It all works together. You birth your baby's on your breast, your baby's looking for the nipple. They might nurse, they might not, but you're still one there. And that baby on your breast kicking your stomach is what's going to help stop the hemorrhage. And nursing as soon as possible, And you can even do your own massage. Like, I don't like those massages they do. They are very violent. They can actually make hemorrhage worse sometimes. So
it was horrible, really a horrible experience.
And they do them routine on women, even if you're not. They'll do this, you know, as abdomen stomach massage, and they did it to me to my first, and it was very painful. And it really shouldn't be a common practice because it is so damaging. But that's what they do in the hospitals. It's all intervention, you know, from start to finish. The second you go and see a doctor and, you know, give them any kind of power, like, it's just kind of snowballs from there. Like, we have a saying in the free birth community: the first intervention is leaving your house. Yep. So just going out of your comfort space. Sorry, I was reading I turned off the chat so I wouldn't get distracted. Now I'm reading the yes. And, you know, I'm really passionate about it all. And I'm really passionate about educating women and helping women through their, you know, their process, through their getting pregnant, through their pregnancies, through their labors, and all of that. I really want them to have just all the information that they need to make the best choices for themselves. Like, I can't tell you what your choices should be, but I can give you the information. I can give you good information that you probably haven't been told by your doctor. He can give you that information. I'm going to give you this information. And then you have all of it to make the best choices for you, your baby, and your family. Because we're not all the same. And that's the problem with the medical system too, is it's all blanketed, you know, it's often just blanketed care as opposed to individualistic care, you know, individualistic care, because that it just makes it easier for them to get people in and out and, you know, just keep this conveyor belt of money. It's money, it's profit. It's not health and wellness, it's profit. That's what it is. And Absolutely. So many just don't realize that still, even though it should be obvious, but it seems to slip their minds because we've been indoctrinated. We've been convinced that this is health and wellness and that they are going to save us and we need all of their interventions or we die at 20 years old or something, you know, whatever you think. I don't know what people think, but they seem to think that. Like, they seem to think that these people are saving us. We need all of their medicines all the time, when really it's all iatrogenic, right? And it's killing us. It's causing chronic illness, causing more issues. And there's no holistic care. There's no considering, you know, that people need to have loving family around them. Especially during COVID, when they were keeping people away from each other in the hospitals, and, you know, people were dying alone, and like, there's no considering the whole human experience and the fact that we need those human connections. And sometimes we need a better diet and more exercise. Sometimes we need somebody to talk to, or, you know, and sometimes you need surgery and then you go to the hospital, or, you know, a serious medication. That happens. But the majority of time in true health and wellness is going to come from striving to live the best, you know, kind of healthy lifestyle you can. Like, we're not well off, but we do our best to get the food that we can. You know, we don't buy all organic and like all this stuff because we can't afford that. We buy what we can. We try to buy whole foods, you know, and cook, you know, meals and stuff like that. And it goes a very long way. Getting outside in the sun, you know, and this all goes for pregnancy as well. Like, when you're pregnant, you don't need all those supplements. You don't need to be, you know, getting whatever prenatal that the doctor gives you. Like, if you can, get it through your food. Make smoothies. That's what I do. You know, like, I make smoothies for my family because it helps to get a lot of nutrients in everybody, which they might not eat regularly, but with it all mixed in with some yummy, you know, berries, and it tastes really good. They get, you know, I put spinach in there and liquid chlorophyll, which is just basically, you know, what's in the greens. Vitamin C I'll put in there if I think we need a little boost. And then on top of all, like, the fruits and whatever else, like, you could put grains in there, you could put nuts, like, you could put all kinds of things in smoothies and get so much from those. You know, and then if you feel you need some supplements, go with that. Like, I'm very much about intuition, but you have to connect with that because we've been disconnected from that as well. So
that's the truth.
You know, you have to have like a good base, and then I think you could really thrive off of like an intuitive kind of diet, because we're not all going to be the same either. You know, you have these diet fads and these nutrition fads, and it's like everyone's not the same. We can't all do it the same. You got to.
I have my garden, and I think we're so divorced from reality that oh well, I'll go get an apple. Well, actually, apples aren't actually in season this time of year.
That too. Yep.
So even
Yep.
what we're consuming, it's not in vibration or rhythm with
Yeah.
the areas that we're in. Like those who have hay fever, like your little ones, well, go source your local honey.
Yep. Yep.
Because it's those bees that are eating those pollens of your area that are giving you those allergies,
Yep.
So natural source honey, if you can
And
source.
you all apparently have some of the best honey, the Manuka honey. I was looking into that a little more because I hear about it all the time. All honey is really good, your local honey, but the Manuka honey is supposed to have some of the best like healing, antibiotic properties and all kinds of things. Like honey's amazing. That's like that's your
Manuka
miracle
honey,
drug right there.
yeah.
Natural.
Manuka honey, they call it in Australia Manuka as well, but it's the same plant, but that's the New Zealand name, and I'm not quite sure what they actually call the particular tea tree. It is here, but we're I
We
love
have
Manuka.
the
It's more
same
flowery too.
we have the same kind of trees here too. So, because I was looking it up the other month or something, and because I was just curious why it's so much better supposedly than just like any other local honey that we have. But apparently, so we call them crepe myrtles here, the tree that we have.
Yep.
So they're this. I don't know if they're exactly the same, but yeah. So that's it's just, but local, any local honey is really good.
Local. I'm a firm. I have my little place where I go and pick up my local honey from here. I actually do like a particular brand of Manuka honey, and that is a New Zealand one that I buy.
Yeah.
And I really love the flavor of this one. It's really, really florally.
Oh, nice.
But again, when our whole rhythm of how we engage as humans in reality is so thrown off kilter, it's hard to actually know where we start, and that's where intuition plays a huge part in it for women. I knew some of what you've said about birthing in that moment in time at the hospital, but didn't have the right way to articulate how I was feeling, because one, you're in and out of consciousness once your contractions change from those that push down to transition of pushing out. There's a vagueness of consciousness there that mothers go through, and I believe that's when we talk to source. I've had my second time I had my baby, I was so prepared for that. I'm like, I'm going to be asking all these questions to source in that moment, because it's like it's hard to explain, but it's where time is moving.
Yep.
And then it's now, it's here, it's right here. It's so intense.
Yep.
And then it moves past that moment. And it's hard to explain, but that really was whoa to me and mind blowing. And I was sort of saying, what about this and what about that? And you're sort of getting shut down in what is actually right for your body.
Yep. Yep.
And then that's the gaslighting. That's that. So, I'm dilating, for example, but I'm not dilating fast enough. So they'll come in and give you that needle because you're on that hospital's time. You're not on your time.
Exactly.
Straight up. In a hospital.
And then they'll pull the dead baby card. They love to pull the dead baby card. Your baby's going to die. This isn't about you. I mean, they did that to me with my first. It was like, I mean, they didn't say that specifically to me, but apparently the doctor was telling my in-laws and people who were waiting outside that this was like a life or death situation. She was trying to convince them I needed a C-section. I didn't end up having a C-section, but she did end up using she actually hurt my baby. That this was my trauma that actually woke me up and made me say, no, this is not right. This should not have happened to me. This should not be happening to women. And I went, whereas some women think they've been saved by the system, I knew it was the opposite. I knew the system had failed me and hurt me and caused me trauma, lifetime trauma, this PTSD we get from, not everybody, of course, but, a lot of women end up with PTSD. You have flashbacks, you have, lots and lots of just lifelong trauma. Yeah, lying to women is their MO, definitely. So, it's manipulation. It's just they want you to do things their way. Like when I got to the hospital, the doctor was like, "Oh, this baby's going to be out by dinner time." And when it wasn't, she wanted to rush it. I wasn't ready. I don't even think I even hit transition when I was in the hospital with my baby, because I was so good. Like I got there and they checked me and my waters broke, which was probably because they checked me. And so things started to get intense. And then at that point, this woman was talking about C-section. As soon as I got to the hospital, she was talking about C-section. I mean, when we met her, we knew she was going to try to cut me open. Like we said.
She probably had a lunch date, mate.
Yeah. Well, she wanted to be out of there by dinner. Yep. She even said it when I got there. And so, and then I was just like, leave me alone. I just want to labor. So I went in the shower and I shut everybody out for like hours. They came in. Why don't you want an epidural? Like I was like some zoo creature that they were just fascinated by. Oh, this woman doesn't want an epidural. How strange. What a crazy thought, And I'm just like, why are you asking me this right now? It was like, I'm laboring fine in the shower and you're coming in here asking me why I don't want something that you want to give me that you think I should have. If I wanted it, I'd ask for it. So I was left alone for the longest time. Then all of a sudden they said, "Oh, we can't check you," because I was on my hands and knees. They're trained to check women on their backs, So the woman's like, "Oh, I can't check you. So could we get you out?" So then they got me out. They got me in the bed. They got me exhausted. They told me to push when I wasn't ready to push. That we call that purple pushing. You're pushing, you're exhausting yourself. It's not doing anything. And then by the end, I looked abused. My whole body was swollen. My eyes were swollen. My knees were red. I was just a total mess. This woman had injured my baby because she did the suction. She did the vacuum, which is basically a suction cup they put on your baby's head, right? So she did it. She did it one time. It didn't work. She did it another time. It didn't work. She went to do it again. Because a bunch of people come into the room, right? You say you don't want these people, but then they just come in. Because
I know, right?
We're fascinated by you. Let us watch this, even though you said you didn't want us here. All these people are in there. So they're like, no, you can't do it again. That's against the book. She did it one more time, caused a laceration, hematoma on my baby's head. She was in the NICU. Well, their version, they didn't actually have a NICU. So she was in their version of the NICU. They said nobody touch her. Of course, I went in there immediately and touched her as soon as I could because I'm her mother and nobody was going to tell me not to touch my baby. But, and it was all because this doctor was unprofessional, in a rush, wanted to get home for dinner, was perfectly happy doing surgery because they're surgeons. That's what people don't understand either. These are surgeons. They are trained to do surgery. They are not trained in natural birth. They don't see natural birth. Even in school, they're not seeing natural birth. What they're seeing, and this is, particularly in the States, because I know other places have kind of more midwifery, care, which they might get a little more natural information than like our doctors here do. But, typically they're not seeing what a undisturbed kind of situation looks like. So they think they have to intervene. And if they're not, then, what are they even doing there? They want to practice their profession, which is surgery, not natural birth.
That's right. Especially if they've got students in there.
Yep.
Especially if they've got students in there. Now you're not only there because you're giving birth to this new human, but now you've got to, for some reason, you got to teach this person over here. Well, that wasn't on the cards, I don't remember ever making that deal. And I know we've got to learn, but we had a system of learning. We had a system of sharing this intelligence, this information from woman to woman.
Yeah.
And I started really reflecting on the whole thought that there's surgeons out there, men, have no idea about a female's anatomy, let's be honest, other than what they've learned in a textbook. And then on top of you educating this other person in there that absolutely has no idea either. And yet, I think as bold as this sounds, all midwives and birthing women should be mothers. They should have experienced that. And I know there's people who will not like what I've just said.
Yeah, no. No, there's always someone who doesn't like it. I don't think men should be. I don't think men should be part of it at all. I think partners should see it. I do think partners and kids should, if you want them there, be there to witness your power. Yes. I do. I absolutely do, because I think that will help our men respect women more by seeing this power that and this experience we go through to create all of them.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
like, but they should not have any say in it. They do not belong there. And yes, it is an unpopular opinion, but well, I don't know how unpopular it is exactly, but there are those who don't agree with it. But I agree. Like it.
Yeah, I just think like I had a really amazing nursing midwife with my son and I've got big boobs. I've always had big boobs, and she really worked well with me with doing like the football sort of hold.
Oh,
Where you tuck him under the arm and lift up rather than having my other boob laying on his belly.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, wonder why he can't keep his food down when you've got something like that sitting on top of your belly. You know, so I came quite adept. I was able to hang out washing and, you know, but she was a mum and she had fed her, and it was that experience of what she brought from her feeding and her birthing to me that I related to. The other woman who tried to get me to put the nipple shields on, and it was just a mess. Like we had such and I just wanted to get that milk into him to flush that jaundice out.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to, you don't have mills on your boob, right? Like I wanted to know that it was going through his system. And the midwife that had the experience of feeding her child could explain that to me on a level that the woman who's never had a child but still a midwife could. And it's like, I'm really sorry, but you don't have that experience to bring to the table with women who are actually in this. We actually want to hear from the GMAs, we want to hear from the mamas, the mimas. We want to hear from them how we were born. And we're not getting that because they go, you have it in hospital, she'll be right. You'll be right, mate.
Yeah, it's also messed up. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I just had something I was going to say and then I forgot it. So that's what I was going to say. So, in the hospital, the woman who helped me the most with breastfeeding, even though, you know, I came from a breastfeeding family and my mom was actually a consultant for a little bit with La Leche League, and their thing, which is so disappointing that they've bought into this gender stuff, is mother to mother help, which we need. You know, we need that mother to mother help. When I was in the hospital with my first, that was the best help I got was from a nurse who was a mother, I think, of 7 or something. And someone had given me that nipple shield. And she said, you don't want that. You want to slip that off as soon as possible. She said, put it there, get the baby to latch, and then slip it out. And that was the best advice I was ever given, because then my baby was right to the boob. It was because I was so engorged, because they had me in the hospital and I was stressed out, and I didn't swell or anything. I've never swollen up, you know, gotten the swelling in pregnancy or anything. But after that birth, when I was in that hospital waiting and stressed out for my baby I was not leaving that hospital until that baby came with me. I got so swollen. Like that was the only time my feet and legs and everything swelled. Oh my goodness. Swelled up.
Retention. Yeah. Just retaining that fluid.
Yep. And my poor baby couldn't even latch when they finally let her. They didn't want to let me nurse. They didn't even want to let me try until there was a lactation consultant. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I come from a family that has done this. I've seen it my whole life. I did it till I was 3. Like, you're going to tell me that I can't even try to put my baby to my breast until the lactation consultant is here? I mean, and I think I started crying, and then they were like, oh, well, we'll see. And then I think it ended up happening. Like, they were just really off. Like, they acted like my baby was their baby. I knew I could leave at any time. That's the thing people don't know either. Like, you can leave against medical advice. They might make you sign something that says against medical advice, but you can leave anytime. The only reason I didn't leave is because my baby's head was so injured, and I didn't want to move her until that had calmed down a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then
that's for both baby and your peace of mind, because you go take this baby home and you've got like a hematoma, then you don't want it bumped, you know, but you're confused too. You're like, okay.
Your hormones it's the biggest hormonal shift you're going to have. So you have all these emotions. And then they gave me this paper about postpartum depression. I was like, I'm not going to fill this out. Of course I'm depressed. You guys are abusing us. I'm not going to fill out your form and you can label me as depressed and do who knows what with this information. I'm not doing it. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. Like, why don't you have somebody maybe come in here and talk to me about this whole situation where this doctor was negligent? We could talk about that, but I'm not going to fill something out where you can label me as depressed and then try to like keep my baby or something.
Yeah, and then of course that leads to you must be having some sort of psychosis, so we better put you on some sort of medication which will go through your brain, and then maybe you should stop breastfeeding if you're taking those pharmaceuticals at the moment. Like it's literally a continuation. They love it, I feel like they love it. Like
they do,
with my daughter, the first thing I did after she was born, we got up to there and I just stripped her off to a nappy, pushed her over by the window, and then had the midwife goes, "Oh, second baby." I said, "Yeah." The first one jaundice, eh? I went, "Yeah."
Yep, you learn.
Like they literally look at you sideways because you're doing this thing because you've learned from the experience of your first child.
Why hadn't you told me that when I had my first child? It's like the worst environment for everything. It's the worst environment to get started nursing. It's the worst environment for jaundice, because what you should be doing is just sitting by either a window or outside in the sun with your baby nursing. That's what you should be doing. That's what they put the babies under UV light. They're putting the babies under artificial sunlight. Go out and act.
My boy was a roast chicken. They had him on the billy bed. Right, which is the one with the ultraviolet coming from the. So they slipped in this little thing like this, and you had to rotisserie him every half an hour in this bed, right? This billy bed. It was good. So my little son was like some sort of roast chicken, and then. And then he'd wake up and he was so strong he'd push himself up to cry because he was on his belly. And they go, "You can't keep him like that, we're to give him the dummy." And I'm really not a pacifier person at all with and the nurses were giving him pacifiers.
They don't respect your requests. I asked them to bring her to me when she was hungry. Oh, we already fed her. I asked you not to do. So they gave her formula that I asked them not to. Just all kinds of things they just ignore because they feel like they know best. But this is not your baby. This is my baby. These are my choices, and you're ruining what I'm trying to, the base that I'm trying to set. Like I'm trying to start off as best I can, against the odds here because of you all, and you're just making it worse and worse. And there was one nurse that gave me good information. Like I went in there and she was just like, "Oh, okay, well, let me tell you what's happening and what's going to happen." And nobody else did that. There was one nurse that actually gave me information and treated me like I wasn't some child and that this was not her baby, but mine. One.
That's right. Yep.
That's so depressing.
I had my boy taken out of the room and put down into the nursery. And now my boy was 8 pound 3, 2.5 weeks early.
Oh yeah, no, he was ready. He was
ready, and they had him down in the nursery. They took him out while I was sleeping, and I walked down, and there was this mother and daughter looking in, going, "Who let that big baby? He looks like the Incredible Hulk in with the rest of the pretty babies." And I'm like, "That's my baby."
They put him with the preemies, you said? They put him
in with the nursery with the preemie babies. So you had all these, you're looking through the window and all these little babies, and then my baby. And these women were like insulting my baby.
Because that's not like huge, like the average is around 7 pounds. So 8 pounds isn't, that's not, but
he's preemies. What do they call it? The colostrum?
The colostrum, yeah.
Yeah, he still had colostrum on him, so he was classed as being born early. He was
you mean the vernix. The vernix. The
vernix,
white,
easy.
The vernix. Yeah, the colostrum's the first milk that you get.
Oh, that's the first milk, yes.
Yeah, that's full of antibodies that they try. I hate this term. Like, has your milk come in? I hate it. I hate when women are asked.
That's the third day.
Yeah, because that's, the colostrum is milk too, and it's there when it should be there right after you birth and you start nursing. Yep. And then
it's a bit more yellow, a bit more
that liquid gold. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's full of antibodies. And this is the thing that a lot of women don't realize is, and if they had this information, I guarantee you women would be making different choices, because we're told that it's just nutrition. You can get formula because it's just nutrition. No, breast milk is the completion of your baby's antibodies, the completion of your baby's immune system. It is the completion of their stomach's their jaws, their brains. This is stuff that formula cannot even come close to. And it's changing. It's constantly changing. The fat contents, the different nutrients in it, whatever your baby needs. Antibodies are going from you to your baby. That's why we're meant to get certain sicknesses. You know, we're not meant to get, you know, those childhood illnesses that they want to vaccinate everyone for. And I'm sorry if this is controversial, but like that's hindering our immune system ability to develop is what it's doing. And then you need them. So you've been medicalized, you need them, you need all this, the vaccines and then the medicines. But the thing is, if women were supported and were able to give their babies the best from the start, and they realized that breast milk was developing, finishing their baby's development, they would, I think, you know, really appreciate the ability to be able to nurse. And most women can. That's another thing. Everyone always wants to say, oh, but not all women can. But most women can. Women who have worked with women in lactation say there's maybe like 1% that might have a real issue that can't. And then a lot of it's just lack of support and information. That's what it is.
Absolutely, totally is. It totally is. Like, I'm a firm believer. You feed your baby whenever your baby is hungry. I don't care where you are.
Schedules, that's so male.
Yeah,
schedule
yeah.
shit.
You know, oh, you should do that in the bathroom. I know, mate. I'm going to serve up your lunch on the dunny seat. You know, how would you like me to serve up your lunch on the dunny seat? You want me to go
they tried to do that to me in a restaurant with my first when I was nursing her. And we were just sitting there hanging out in this restaurant. And I think we'd been there a while and chatting. And, you know, I was sitting, so I was nursing and then not. And then, so then by the end, this lady comes up and tells me that I'm making somebody uncomfortable or something. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'll see you next week with a horde of breastfeeding mothers. So we went back. I took all the breastfeeding mothers and we sat at a big long table with all our babies and we nursed and we ate and we enjoyed ourselves.
Awesome. That's where so like there's a comedian over here, right? There's a comedian over here, and I don't know if I'll say his name, but he is such a pain in the ass because he says literally like, you know, you can't. You got these women walking around shopping centers with their boobs hanging out, feeding their children, like it's some sort of issue. Do you know what I mean? And then he'll turn around and call a man she, her. Oh, yeah, Mr. Butterfield, I'm looking straight at you.
Because those boobs are for him. Those boobs are for him, right? They're not for your baby.
That's right. So a milking woman, a woman that's lactating and milking and feeding her child, well, that's fucking unattractive. Let's have none of that shit in society. Do you know, like, and this particular comedian has millions of followers here. I actually haven't gone and had a look at his shit and fucking poked him on his comments for a while because his wife was pregnant. So I wonder if he's changed his tune on some of this shit.
That's what I wondered too. These men say that stuff and then that reality kicks in, or they just don't support their partners and, you know, she's miserable and judges or, you know, blames herself or whatever when her partner wasn't, you know, any kind of support person. So
that's right. I mean, I've had one of my husband's friends walk past me breastfeeding and not want to enter my house to walk past me again because he's left his car keys at the table. And I've gone, this was like in my 20s too, where I've gone, like, so if I had to flash me boobs at you, you would be like, oh, hello.
Exactly.
I'm feeding my child and they're used for what they're used for. You can't even walk past to get your car keys.
Wow. That's such a shame.
That was the last time he was ever invited back to our house by me or my husband, by the way.
I love it. That's great. I love it. Yeah, people get so weird. You know, I went out to a friend's dinner after a birthday dinner or whatever after one of my babies. I don't remember which one it was. But, you know, I was there and my friend's, I was nursing and she's like, oh, I knew you were going to do that. I was like, what? Feed my baby at dinner time? What? I don't get it. Like, yeah, like she had issue with me nursing my baby at dinner. I was like, this, yeah, of course I'm going to do this here, you woman who also has a baby. Like,
what a strange thing for you to do to feed your child at meal times.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. And then these women buy this stuff too, you know, they buy into it that like breasts are for men and, you know, and this is inappropriate. You shouldn't be having your baby there. You should go somewhere else to do this. Like, no. And then you should cover up. Have you ever tried to cover a nursing baby? They will not have that. Mine won't, anyways. Maybe there's some that like it, but mine are like that cover's gone. They're like, whole arm off of me. They don't want to be covered.
It's literally like putting like a COVID mask on them while they eat. They need to breathe.
Yep.
You know, like, let's just stick that a nappy, a vomit. Like, you won't put the nappy over for vomit, right? But no, you better suffocate your child while it's feeding. No, that's why I do it this way, because I was suffocating it with my food. You know, no, I think that's half the problem is the over-sexualization of the female form, and that the gatekeeping women will do on men's behalf is just is disgusting. You know, like my daughter is in her early 20s, and she does want to have children. She talks about it, and she's quite open about talking about children with her boyfriend, even though they're not married, they're just together. I give her full kudos for being absolutely honest and forthright and letting him know this is the expectations that she wants for her life. And if he's not up to that journey, then later.
Yep, that's exactly what I told my partner when I had my first was with somebody else, and then I've had the next ones with my partner now. So the first one was in the hospital, my first baby. Very traumatic, like I told you. So then with my second, by the time I had my second, they're 6 years apart. I had met, somebody else, and I told him, I was like, I'm going to free birth, and you can either support me or you can not be here. Those are your options, and women are scared to say that to their partners. And if you can't say that to your partner and him respect you, or if you can't say I'm going to do this and him support you, then I'm sorry, but that's just, you should probably move on, because
absolutely not the right partner for you.
Yeah, that's not respecting your body. That is not respecting your body. This is my choice based on my experiences in life and my body and what I know is best for me and my baby that I am going to be birthing. Okay, not you, me. I don't care about your fears. Those aren't mine. You deal with that. You fix that in you. And I'm going to do this the way that I know will be healthy and not cause me trauma, because I worked really hard. I worked really hard to get to this place, like in that 6 years. I mean, I had started researching, birth in my pregnancy. I mean, I already knew, I already been kind of fascinated by it and watched, read a little bit, but not enough, and then the information is buried. And when I was pregnant with my first, it was just like Facebook was just starting, the internet stuff was really picking up. So the information was still pretty iffy. And now it's getting meh again because they're suppressing so much. But you couldn't find it really. Like, it wasn't something you just come across. So from that pregnancy and then that trauma and then those 6 years, literally every single day I was reading about birth. I was talking to women about birth and pregnancy and their experiences. I read stuff from doctors and nurses and midwives and mothers and fathers. I took it all in. I did so much work till I got to the point I went from, I'll have a midwife, I'll have a doula. And then I was like, I don't fucking need anybody. I don't need anybody. It's me and my baby. I know all this stuff. I can take care of all this stuff. It's not really gonna, it's very rare that anything will even come up, and I can trust my instincts. I have pretty good connection there. Like I wasn't so taken out of myself that I couldn't find myself easily, I wasn't part of the medical system. My mom didn't have us in that system. Like, she did a little bit, if we got sick, we might go, but little things, like we weren't very medicalized. So I think it was a little easier for me to find my way out, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to break free from this mentality, and I see feminists saying this stuff all the time. Oh, that's dangerous. And you have to go to the hospital, and the hospital's the best place, and something can go wrong so quick. And look, I've been researching this stuff so long. I've heard so many stories. I've been in so many groups with thousands of women, and I can tell you that this is absolutely how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be women supporting women in our homes where we're comfortable. There was a study done. I have to find it again because I went back to the page where it originally was, and it's gone, of course. There was this great study that this midwife group did. They might have even been in Australia, but they did this great study where they had a group of unassisted on, I think it might have been on Facebook, and they asked these women and they, how their births went, if they transferred, if they ended up with C-section. Those numbers, they were phenomenal. These women had the best pregnancies, the best outcomes. I think there was maybe one C-section or something in this group of like, I think they had at least 1,000 something. It was a pretty decent number of women.
So it was something that you can literally look at and see the results of the pro.
These were unassisted births.
To pro home, to pro hospital, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that, and then we have women over here perpetuating this lie that we're all going to die if we don't birth in a hospital, when, especially in the States, do you know the stats for the States? We have some of the highest maternal morbidity, mortality, infant rates in the developed world.
That's the worst.
Yet we spend the most. We spend the most on our healthcare, yet we have the worst outcomes.
See, you have we have Medicare here. So when we have our babies, it's covered by the government. We don't have to worry about that. And I think sometimes, that's a great thing. But then sometimes I go, whoa, does that really just funnel us all in, no questions asked, because we don't have to financially contribute to that hospital system? Would we think twice if there was a huge fee attached to that?
Yeah. And that's part of why they keep it that way, that it covered, so here, I don't know if it's the same there, because it sounds like you have a little bit of a different system where the midwives are actually integrated, where we don't have that. They're starting to do that, but like I said, they're just medicalized. They're just nurses is what they are. So, oh my gosh, I keep losing.
So we have my baby was born at the Royal Brisbane's Women's Hospital.
So it doesn't cover midwives here. A lot of insurance doesn't cover midwives. Even birth centers, they have a hard time getting reimbursed. So then they don't want to take Medicaid patients. So that's what they do to keep you here, at least in the system. So that makes perfect sense that the Medicaid covering it, because people are like, oh, well, it's fully covered. I don't have to pay anything. This midwife wants, a few $1,000s. But then if you look at just the numbers, the hospital's charging you $40,000 for you to have a natural birth, and the midwife's charging you maybe $3,000, if that.
Yeah.
Maybe they're even doing trade. A lot of midwives will do trade, And since we're talking about midwives, they're not all created equal. There's different kinds. So I just want to say what they have. So you have direct entry, you have nurse midwives, professional midwives, and they say lay midwives, but I don't like that term because they're not lay. They know what they're doing. They're not lay people. They are traditional midwives is what I call them. So you have DEMs, CNMs, CPMs, and then I just call them midwives, the traditional ones, and the CMs. So those are all different. So they all go through different kinds of trainings. Clearly the CNMs, they do nurse training. They're nurses. The CPMs are certified professional midwives. And you can go look these things up so you can get a better definition of each one. But it's important for women to know this, that not every midwife is created equal. If I was to have a midwife, I would have a traditional midwife. That's someone who's is not controlled by the system because they're not licensed. These other ones, if they're licensed, you have a licensed midwife, they have things they have to follow. They have protocols, they have rules, they have to let you out of their care after a certain point or for certain issues. But the lay midwives, they're just kind of underground. So they don't have
all the information either, because they've only been trained in that specific thing. So with your lay midwife, again, not the greatest term, they're an all-rounder.
Yep.
Yeah, all-rounder. They'll give you.
In my experience, they are the ones that have the most knowledge because they are actually listening to women. They are in this, and they are serving women. They are actually serving women. Of course, you have individuals who might have their various issues, but the other ones, if you're licensed, like you have things you have to follow or you'll lose that license, you know. I've heard of many midwives who have been midwives licensed who have decided, I don't want my license anymore, I don't want to be part of this system, I'm going to actually serve women, I care about women, I want to serve women, and I don't care if that could potentially get me in trouble, I care about women, that's what I'm doing. And that is just, that's powerful right there, saying no, I'm not.
So can I ask you, Pinwheel, how many babies have you had?
5.
5?
Yeah.
And how many have you birthed unassisted on your own?
4. The only one that was in the hospital was the first one. And like I said, that trauma, that lit a fire under my ass. And I did my due diligence at that point. I mean, I dug, and I found everything everywhere. And then I went on to have my second birth, which was on my back porch in a fishy pool with, you know, with not enough water because it didn't fill up fast enough. But it was so healing. Like, it was so incredibly healing. It was just me and my partner, and my oldest, she was asleep. Yeah, because the baby was born when we would have been getting up to take her to school. So she was asleep. Baby came, woke up, saw the baby, all snuggled. Beautiful, beautiful healing like experience. She loves it. You know, I tell her, you know, her trauma, our trauma, is what guided us to have the ability to do this. You know, like, so she loves that story. She loves to hear it framed that way. Like, yes, it was traumatic. Yes, you were in the hospital, but you are the reason that I was able to see that it wasn't right, that I can now help, that I can now go on to help so many other women also see this truth before they have to go through that trauma. You know?
Absolutely. I think it's honestly amazing. Had I have the opportunity to redo having my children, I know I would look at this whole thing from a completely different angle and perspective, and that has come from hearing you speak, seeing what you've written, looking at links that you've dropped, and I really appreciate that because regardless if my daughter has children or not, or my son has children or not, it's information that I can share with women. You know, a niece or a nephew might jump in, and I've got a friend of mine who I consider a sister. She's one of my belly dance friends, and she's just found out both her son and her daughter are both expecting their babies around the same time with their partners. And I'm really, really happy. And we've talked that I've been able to go, well, these books have been recommended through this wonderful woman, this warrior, this wicked woman that I know. If you'd like to have a look and share them with, you know, your family, and they might benefit from them too. And by doing that, we're changing the landscape of how strong we are. And when they gave me the injection to make my dilations faster, and they said, you're going to want an epidural, and I'm like, no, I didn't know what to do, but I damn well knew inside my heart of heart I did not want that epidural. I did not want that.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to have a drug-free baby if I could have that, you know? And that's what I fought for. And I thought, well, if I was more knowledgeable, I would have been more adamant and stood my ground so much more, not just with the medical establishment, but with my family as well.
Yes.
And I think that's the one most important thing, is to be able to stand your ground with your mother, with your mother-in-law, because they've been indoctrinated into the same system, and they are, without meaning to, indoctrinate the next generation into the same medicalization, birthing that they went through without questioning it. And I think this is where we are. Let's question it. Let's challenge it. Let's question it.
And it's funny, when I was planning my my free births, you know, people would say, "Oh, well, shouldn't you have at least a doula there?" Because they just don't know what these things are. Like a doula, they think a doula is a midwife. A doula is not a midwife. A doula is there for basically just moral support. You know, they can give you a massage, they can bring you food, they can do all kinds of things for you, but you know, it would still be an unassisted birth. And people didn't realize that because they don't know. Like, I'm so knowledgeable of this stuff, and you think I'm the ignorant one making this choice out of ignorance. It's really it's a strange thing. Like, you know, I share about this stuff, I talk about it, I've read about it, I've just been from every perspective pretty much. And you think that I'm ignorant of something? You don't even know what a doula is. Come on.
Yeah.
I just
but it's funny, isn't it? Because it's what we're passionate about.
Yeah.
That brings us into the turfery.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to ask you, is it this topic that has brought you and piqued you into the turfery?
Yes, it actually was. I can tell you that story. So I've been in this, you know, obsession with birth and everything. So I was really involved with a lot of different birth workers. And birth workers just means, you know, it can be midwives, doulas, yoga, anyone who works with women and throughout their, you know, pregnancies and stuff. So I had a lot of these individuals on my everywhere on my social and everything, and I started to see this language change. You know, like the birthing people and the, you know, all these things, and I was just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, we're changing to get better language in medicine and in science to better represent women, yet you're over here not using language that's going to help us at all. And I think one of the first things I read about it that then clicked it and solidified it in my head that, yes, I am right, this is wrong, was the midwives in Canada. They did like an open letter, and then there was that book, Female Erasure.
Yep.
And I read those, and I was like, yep. I was like, this is exactly what my fears were, that legally, in law, in medicine, in stats, this language matters. And that's, you know, that's where I started. And then I dug on that topic just like I did on birth. I went and I found everything, and I found, you know, these trans people telling their stories on podcasts, and I saw, you know, and I went and I dug up the word turf and where that came from. And then at this point, when I was researching this woman had actually done a little tiny, it wasn't like a study. It was very, you know, it was just her clients. She was either a midwife or a doula. I don't remember. But so what she did is she went and she would talk to, you know, to the couples, and she'd use this language. And a lot of the men were like, what? Why aren't you calling my wife mother and woman? Like, what are you talking about? Birthing what? And they would get upset. So she decided from her study, and some of the women would too, but like she found a lot of the men did, you know, they're defending their woman. Like, this is a woman. This is my wife. She's the mother of my, not the parent. Like, I'm the father. She's the mother, you know, like it mattered to them. And so what this woman determined is that it needs to be on an individual basis. But now what we're seeing as things go, it's just blanketed across the board. They don't even want you to say and or, because I saw those conversations too, where women were like, well, can't we say mothers and parents, women and people, or whatever? And I saw people say, no, that's othering us. That's not acceptable. And people will tell me this doesn't happen. No, I saw it happen in front of my face. I saw this happening. I saw them destroying our language that we were trying to fix even. And these birth workers who should know better are just letting it happen. And then they have this whole like decolonizing the mind thing, you know, this talk going on. Yet these women are over here and I leave comments on their stuff. What are you talking about? You're not decolonizing anything. What you're doing is you are colonizing yourself and other women for the benefit of these fuckers. I'm sorry, but this topic really gets...
No, this channel's not monetized. You can swear it up.
Okay.
Swear it up. No, look, I like the fact that this channel will never be monetized. Let the language, I love the rawness of it. So, you know, don't ever apologize for having no fucks to give or lots of fucks to give on this channel. So,
love you.
Yeah. Look, I came about this very similarly because I love occult knowledge. I love occult knowledge, and I'd realized that most of
even there,
our knowledge as women, as witches and wicked women, herbalists, midwives, was taken and repackaged to us. And it was from my spiritual perspective that I realized, well, wait a minute. These Rosicrucians and these Freemasons that say that they're the keepers of the knowledge stole it from women.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you don't get to keep that. It's not you. It was never yours to begin with. It belonged to us. So how dare you take our knowledge from us, wrap it up in a crystal, a shiny little rock. Like here's a pebble, here's a shiny rock. Here's the New Age shop. Is the New Age, well, the New Age shop, the New Cage shop, because the New Cage is just like the old cage.
The New Cage, New Age, New Cage.
Yeah, New Age, New Cage. And we don't have any of that actual occult knowledge of understanding that the energy, and now we've got these literally men out there that say that they have goddess energy. They don't even know what that means.
Oh, goodness.
They don't even know what that means.
And it's been so disappointing how many, because I was in a few, pagan groups too, and just they're buying this stuff. Like this is so far from natural. Like how? Like how do you not see it? How do you not see it? I can never wrap my head around it.
I don't like saying natural law because people like to put you're against you must be a homophobe because you're against what's natural. It's like it's a universal law, right? There is universal laws that run through our very existence, our very fiber, and of the whole universe. And gravity is one of them. The Wright brothers invented the plane, but they never said gravity doesn't exist.
Yeah.
These surgeons are literally saying that binary sex does not exist. They've invented artificial hormones. Nothing natural can come out of something artificial. Let's get that straight up. So when I come across somebody like yourself that speaks very plain language to the way this has been for millennia, I just love to be able to platform yourself on this channel.
Oh, I appreciate it so much too, because you're helping me get my my message out, what I want to speak to women, and I just want to, wherever I can, really just put it where they can find it, where anybody can find it, and you get this information, and then you make your choices. But you can't really have choices without the information. You don't have choices.
The information needs to be in the void for someone to come past and hear it. If it's not put there, I'm not afraid to put something out to nobody because somebody might come across and it might appeal to them, or it might get them to think a little bit differently from the way that they've thought, or they might just go, oh my God, that woman is just nuts. I'll stay away from her. But that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. But
I've decided, based off of my social stuff that I put out there on social media, people think I'm either completely mad or living my best life. I'm kind of just here, like all of you. I'm just doing my thing. I'm not mad.
It's so important. Voices like yours are just so important. That's what this channel is about. This channel is about it's a turfy channel for turfs. That's how I see it. It's not about going after certain pets. We don't keep pet troons on this channel. We don't. This is a little home where we can amplify voices like yours. So I'm really, really grateful, Pinwheel. Really, really grateful. In the description, I've got your list of Instagram and that where people can find you.
Yeah, I figured I was going to put my email, but I figure I have the Instagram. So if you just want to DM me on there or on Facebook, it's, I think you can find me through Pinwheel Art, but they made me get a real name. So it's Alexandra Renee on Facebook if you wanted to DM me there. And then I also have my email, pinwheelar@aol.com. So, I want people to be able to find me and be able to talk about these things. We can talk about turf stuff. We can talk about organizing, speaking events. We could talk about birth. If you know, like, I would love to support you in any way. Like if it's just talking, if you're very far away, if you live close to me, I'd, love to hold space for you in, whatever capacity you need throughout your, mothering world life cycle. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, phase there. So yeah, I mean, because I could talk about this stuff all day, every day. And I have like a ton of books I can recommend. I pulled a few out if you want me to like hold them up.
Have a look at them?
Yeah, I can just hold them up. So I already showed you this one, the Witches, Midwives, and Nurses, which gives you a nice compact little history. Speaking of book clubs, and I wasn't going to show this one, but it's really good. So this actually talks about just how bad all these systems are. Gynecology by Mary Daly. And I actually have my Instagram.
Using the double-sided battle axe symbology. Love it.
She's great. Mary Daly. If you haven't read her, especially this one, because it talks about all these institutions, it talks about the token torturers. We often wonder why we have these little spats within the movement. And that's what it is. We are made to do, like, this is part of the system that they have formed. It's the token torturers. You are the women that are going to then torture other women because you were tortured and your grandmother was tortured, and you perpetuate that because, that's how we're supposed to do it, right? Well, that's what they want. So we need to break free of that. And this is a great book that just shows how bad it is, like how bad, how they're making us sicker. They're just making us sicker, the gynecology. And she also talks about psychology and all of that. So that's a really great one. And I have the Daily Dailies is one of my my Instagrams, because she's just so good. Like you could really just quote the whole book. Like I could just write the whole book in each like Instagram post, right?
A good book too, where you can just flick through and pick a page and there's like a relevant.
Yeah, anywhere. You can just get a quote. Like you just want to keep going. I'm like, okay, I got to limit these. They got to be like quote size, right? But it's like the whole thing. It's just chapter, like, paragraph after paragraph is phenomenal. So that's a great book. And then Sheila Kitzinger, she is amazing. And I don't think enough women have read her or, know she's out there. This is Rediscovering. Oh, I know. Rediscovering Birth. And she's written, this is the one that I have, but she's written a lot of fabulous books about, just all of this, about the history of birth, how women did it, how women came together, how we don't just die if we're not in the hospital, about the reality of it. She's fabulous. Like she really lays it out. She was a huge help in just my mind, preparing that mindset, because mindset is so incredibly important to childbirth and pregnancy. And you shouldn't have to be advocating and fighting for what you want, which is what we see so often. Like you shouldn't have to go into labor and have to advocate for yourself. You should go into labor and be able to do your dance with your baby, and that's all. Like that's all you should be. You should just be in that, because you shouldn't be out of your, you need to be in that primal, just instinctual brain space, because you have to listen to your body, and your baby's helping you. And those surges, those whatever you want to call them. I mean, I don't mind contractions. Some women don't want to use contractions, but I think it's a perfect term for what's happening. It doesn't make me feel bad. Some women like surges or some other term, which is fine. But yeah, like it's so much about mindset that you should not be having to fight, not even in your pregnancy. Like I see women who are just fighting at the end of their pregnancy to either stay pregnant or to not have fear because they've been told their baby's too big or their baby's breech or, whatever. And that's not where you should be, but that's what breaks you down to get you into that system and keep you there. So this is a great book to realize that it's not necessary, as well as gynecology. All right, hold on. So this woman's absolutely amazing. Okay. This woman, if you are a geek, you like to look at the science and the data. You can't really see it. I'll just read it to you. Reclaiming childbirth as a rite of passage, weaving ancient wisdom with modern knowledge. This is Dr. Rachel Reed. She's a PhD, but she's a midwife. And she is, oh my gosh, just these women, the women she has on her podcast. She has a podcast called The Witch's Cauldron.
Oh, nice.
No, sorry, not The Witch's Cauldron. The Midwives Cauldron.
Now, is that on YouTube or is that
I listen to it on Spotify, but I think They might have started a YouTube. They also have Instagram. It's her and another. They're in Australia. Well, no, one of them's in Australia. I think the lactation consultant, Katie, is. So you can find her. Just look up Dr. Rachel Reed, and you'll find her website, which is fabulous. So much information. She has a few blog posts. Like, she really gets into the research. They break it down. The other women she has on the podcast, they come on and they talk about all these things from just a different perspective. And it's like all women. I don't think she has any men on her podcast, which I just, I love because I'm a man hater. No, obviously not. But, as we are. So it's the best. Like Dr. Rachel Reed, the Midwives Cauldron, check it out. Great information. Absolutely fabulous. Awesome. Another one I like to recommend is this is a huge book. So you can take what you need and leave the rest. Like it's big. So Taking Charge of Your Fertility. This just lets you know your body.
That's nice.
It tells you all this information about how to track your cycle. That's the other thing women don't realize. You don't need all these hormones. You don't need this hormonal birth control if we're taught from the beginning that, women think we can get, and men, everybody, they think we can get pregnant any day. But you can't. There's this window of time that you can get pregnant, and we don't teach our girls and our boys that, So if something happens, a condom breaks and you freak out, but if you knew that you weren't fertile at that time, you wouldn't freak out, right? Because you'd be like, oh, exactly. This is the ovulation window. We're perfectly fine. I don't have to panic and, and all this stuff. So like we need to be giving this information to our girls from early on. Like my daughter, I prepared her for when she was going to start her cycle. And so she was actually looking forward to it. I told her some women experience like psychic powers and made it kind of magical for her. I know some people don't like to do that, but it's served us very well because it makes her feel this power that we have. It makes her feel connected to her body. It makes her feel special. It makes it not feel like this scary, gross, it's going to be depressing. I told her you can have, because school only allows like one day. I was like, so you can have like 1 day a month. That would put her at the limit of her absences for school. But I told her that because these systems aren't made for us. If they were, then we would have more days. We could miss school and everything. Because even though we need to work on having healthier periods, you still get exhausted and you still want to rest, even if you have a very healthy period, So these systems aren't made for us. But I told her this is, I'm going to allow this because I know you might need it at least 1 day a month, and she's never taken advantage of it, but, because we work to have very healthy cycles and she seems to be doing well. We don't use all kinds of products. I got the period panties. She loves them. She says she tells her friends all about them. It's such a game changer. You don't have like this stick into your butt, like.
Aren't they? My daughter swears by them.
Yes, they're fabulous. I'm like, I can't believe it took me this long to try them. Now you have all kinds of options you didn't before because, there was like one brand, but now there's like tons of brands.
And like she's actually got really cute little ones. Like, they're not like your big Bonds cottontails. Like,
can't even tell you have them on.
Jonas Diary knickers. They just she doesn't. She don't want that. She doesn't want something that's like a turtleneck up around her neck protecting her. She's But I mean, it's so good that other options, like moon cups.
Yep.
Like, what a brilliant thing. What a brilliant.
Oh my gosh. I was so mad at my mom when I told her, did you see this new thing, this moon? She's like, oh, we had that in the 70s. I didn't like it. They leaked. I was like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me that this was an option? All you ever told me was that there were pads and tampons and you didn't like tampons. So, okay, thanks, Mom. I mean, I love my mom. She did great. She did, the best with what she had. Yeah. But so then I took forever to try the Diva Cup because I was like, nah, I don't know about that. I tried it. It was great. But now at this point, I'm like, I don't even want anything like inside of my body. Like, I just want to be able to let it all out, like let that bleed happen. And the period panties are great for that. They're comfortable.
And that's it. It's, you're not blocking or restricting or gathering fluid in that area. It's coming straight out. It's doing what it's meant to do.
Exactly. It feels so good. And then even postpartum, I use them postpartum. I don't have to have these weird giant pads and stretchy whatever things that they give women. I just use my period panties and they work perfectly well.
I'm 49 this year. I remember when pads didn't have wings.
Oh my goodness. It's amazing. It's so simple, right? But it's because we don't run the world that these things have taken so long to be developed,
Absolutely. I say, yeah, it's so. You want one thing that's so evident that women don't have fuck all to say about fuck all, and that is the car seat belt. Seat belt. Does it go over the boobs or under the boobs?
Yeah.
Depends on how old you are. Like, honestly, there should be some sort of thing that's more like a roller coaster.
There you go. Yeah. Like the car seats. Just have the
actually in it. Like I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of the car seats, that's another great book just for this whole language and statistics and stuff. The it's Invisible Women. What is it? Bias in a, I don't know, something like that. But the main title is Invisible Women, and you should be able to find it from that. And I forget the lady's name. I think it's Maria something. And I just have that one digitally, so I don't have it right in front of me. But that's a great one just to really help you realize how important the language and the science is to our thriving in society and not dying. Like, if we don't have proper statistics and studies to show what we need in society, society's not made for us. And that potentially leads to lots of different kinds of harms, including death.
Absolutely. The language is really important to me. Like, I realize that we've got drag language in the common vernacular now on the street, that it's not acceptable. We went through COVID and we literally have prison talk and military talk now in the vernacular on the street, where we have lockdowns and we have exercise times. These are that's prison language. It's not language for the normal society that we should be speaking. And when I see these changes in trends with language, always piques my interest to what the hell is going on and why do they want us thinking in that particular mind frame. I won't say which YouTuber it was, but it's a YouTuber that still presents very over sexually as a female but calls themselves a detransitioner.
Oh, wow.
And I have a problem because they will justify the pronouns by saying, oh, but at the clubs I would call my girlfriends girls and she and bish. Oh, as an Aussie, have I got a problem with bish?
Oh, what?
I just can't. When a woman calls another one bish, it's like, that's straight out of fucking drag language.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it's a change, a little on bitch.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. But the ish comes from the smell, the vagina smelling like fish.
I see what you
That's
mean.
the man. That's the man. So as a woman, to take that word straight from drag culture and refer to a sister as a bish, fucking flips my fucking dial. Hey.
Yeah. No, we need to really be thinking about our language and be direct. Like, that's what I really got from, Posey Parker and Kara Dansky and, the women who get out there and speak on this, and they just use that plain direct language. I think that's like one of Posey's strongest things, just that she has been using that language and she will not use any of the cult lingo. And I'm just like, that's it. That's what we need. Like, absolutely. All of us, we need to be doing that because this is unacceptable. It's going to destroy us. And we have to it's not time to be nice. It's not the time to be nice. It's just not. But
I can love my children. I can love my children and not be very nice in that moment in time. Because what they need to hear is not niceties, is what they need to hear. It's the
Exactly.
same with my community of women around me. I can love those women and not have to be nice, because I realized when my daughter was 11 and I made that costume for that guy and I invited him to our reenacting group and I convinced 20 odd women to accept him as a woman in that time. I wasn't being very fucking kind to those women.
That's right. Exactly. What about the
So,
women?
like what would have been kind is to have said, no, I'm not hand making a costume for a man who wants to reenact 15th century Middle Eastern at our local Renaissance fair. We call them medieval fair, but local Renaissance fair. No, I'm not doing that for you. But I didn't, because, again, you just got to be kind.
Yeah. Yep.
So, 11 years on, my daughter's 22, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I was that woman. And I'll never be that woman again.
Yep.
It'll never
Exactly.
happen.
Yep. Me neither. Like I used to. I was just pretty introverted and shy and stuff. I don't know if I've ever been very nice, but But I've always been big in the like LGBT community, and we went to drag shows and did all the things, right? But this, I don't think I ever like bought it, because I just saw the language first, is what I saw. Like one of the other things that I saw early on was this article about a pregnant man, and when I saw that headline, that just in my head, I was like, this is what men have been trying to do for centuries. This is it. They're trying to say that they can create when all they do is shit and death. Okay? They do not create life. They do not create life, but they want to say they can. So that's what this is doing. It's making all this kind of confused and weird. And, oh, well, men can have babies now, and men can breastfeed, and that woman man over there is chest feeding, and that man woman over there and it's also confusing. And I see people mix all this stuff up all the time. They think the men are the women and the women are the men. Nobody knows what's happening. This language is not helping anybody, except for the people that want to go on to transhumanism, the men who want to go on to the transhumanism and all that.
And that's where it is, because you can't say there's trans women and trans men and trans kids without flying the transhuman flag. Exactly. Sorry, that's absolutely where this goes.
I am staunchly against all of it. I see it as death. It's going to be the downfall. They think they're going to be immortal, but it's just going to lead to the collapse of all of us. Sadly.
Absolutely. And that's where I will be picking up my children and my future grandbabies, and we will just be going camping. We'll be doing more things where we just get to watch the grass grow, because that's where the connection is going to be. It's not with the blasting of this ideology and whatnot.
Getting your Neuralink.
Yeah, well, again, it's all connected. In 2016, the New York Times had an article. It was about how they can store bit of film footage on the cell of a germ.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
In 2016. And I've got that somewhere. I will do a video on that, because what they want is for us to be the hard drives, because then they don't have cooling systems. So you put your Google glasses on, your Neuralink in, and you charge for data to be stored on self, because you are the human resource.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They call human resource, and every department has a human resource. They know it.
So much of this, let's do it. Let's just do it. We're just going to do it all. Let's see if we can, or because we can, or whatever. And it's not the way it should be. Like I'm not like, I would love to just go out into the woods and exist, but I also really love technology. My mom's total like trekker. Like she, I was raised watching sci-fi and all kinds of stuff. And I think it's very fascinating, and it has the potential to do great things. But it should be in synchronicity with us. It should not be setting us apart from the natural. It should be helping to to grow the net. Like we could use this technology to have the best food, so we could have the best nutrients, which would lead to, we could feed the world, and we could
Absolutely.
That alone would help our health. We could use the technology like this to connect each other around the world. That's what I was excited for when all this stuff first started coming out. The video, I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is so great for like community arts and kids, and we can have kids talk to other kids on the other side of the world, and like, oh my gosh. And then they just take it too far. It gets taken too far, and it's oh, we can do it, let's do it. Like the 70-year-old that they just did IVF in Uganda or somewhere. Like, why would you do that? This is, age is just a number with science. No. That woman is still gonna die, and she's gonna leave behind 3 little babies that she never should have had.
Absolutely. And that's another thing, like for me, that's really important. Pinwheel, back to the mothering stuff, is we're meant to be grandmothers.
Mm-hmm.
We're meant to be grandmothers. Our bodies work unlike other animals in that we don't just die after we've finished with our eggs. We go through perimenopause, menopause. This gives us an opportunity to actually be grandmothers and support our daughters with their children, because our daughters carried, like when we have our daughters they have all their eggs. We carry our future grandbabies in that moment, and we're the only things that do that. We're the only thing on the planet that is there to support our not only children but our grandchildren as well. Mm-hmm. And I think when they start looking at giving IVF to these people that are just too old, we're taking away from that grandparents' experience from that child.
Mm-hmm. They're not even a parent at that point. You get pregnant at 70. This woman, she's already so I watched a video, and she was talking about how she spent all her savings and she was really sick. And you're 70-year-old carrying twins. So then they had the babies surgically, and they were 3.5 pounds. It's just all so bad. 3.5 pound babies, twin babies, to this 70-year-old woman who thinks somehow these babies are magically going to be mature enough to help care for her. You're already 70. In 10 years, these kids are still going to need to be cared for. Not to mention, they're going to have their own health issues because they were born surgically in their preemies.
That's right. The older we get, the harder it is for our children not to be born with certain issues. That's just a fact. We knew that in the 90s, man. We knew that it wasn't great to leave it too long to have babies. We knew that.
Oh, yeah. But then they've been telling women, for so long now, do your career and then have kids. So women are trying to have these babies in their 40s and, beyond, and they're having trouble. And then we're talking about, the fertility rates are down. No, women are just trying to have babies when they're supposed to be done.
That's right. That's when we're finishing having our family, not starting our family.
Exactly.
And I know
I just turned 40. This is my last,
Yeah. And I know that's controversial, and people don't want to hear that we're getting older and our bodies work differently as they get older. But, that was something that I was adamant about with my husband. We've been together since 1993. So we just had our 30th hanging out anniversary in December. And we've been married 24 years. And that was something that when we sat down and talked, I said, I wanted to have family when I'm in my 20s. I didn't want to have families in my 30s,
Yeah, and it just gets harder and harder. It's just this big lie that women have been told. Like, I'd be happy to, work on my career after I've, at least till my kids get in school or whatever. Like, you can put them in school and work on your career after, but you can't have kids forever. But you can start a career. You could start a career or whatever, a job. Like when you
can start that career at 70.
Yeah, like whatever.
You can go study something.
You have babies then, or you shouldn't be having babies then. Like that doesn't make any sense. And if we centered mothers and children, like that's the thing. If we centered mothers and children, so much about society would be healed. You'd have mothers with their children, so that would heal things like mental illnesses, right? That would make sure that they get the best start nutritionally and physically in life, by supporting mothers and children. That would make sure that women weren't having as many abortions if you're against that. Like, that's where you need to be focusing your energy, not making laws that take these things away from women, but supporting women. You should be supporting the women and the mothers in your community so that when they get pregnant, they're not full of fear and terror and think that they have to get an abortion or whatever. Sorry, I had to pick up the baby and lost my train of thought. But you know, so that's where it is. That's where I truly believe that we heal society. Like, I think that was another quote: "Peace on earth starts with birth, or at birth, or something like that. Peace on earth begins at birth." And it's so true. It is so true. Because, you know, if you're raising healthy people, like mentally, physically, but then they don't get money. It's all about profit and power, right? Profit and power, just all that stuff. And like, if you had a healthy society, they wouldn't be able to make all this money off of us, you know? We wouldn't be going to the hospital for every little thing. We'd be sustaining ourselves. We'd have healthy food. We'd probably have like community gardens, you know, and sharing with our neighbors and things like that. And
absolutely.
Yeah, so much.
I think the other thing that really floored me, Pinwheel, was that these hospitals, they get you in there and then they take your placenta, they take all the stem cells, they sell that to Big Pharma, and you're not getting a cent of that. There really should not be any woman, when you realize that there should not be any woman on this planet that has no money while their children are young. There should be zero women struggling with money because they sell you to Big Pharma and you don't get to benefit or profit from that. Mind-blowing.
Yep. Yeah, I keep thinking about how I could pay off my student loans with the placentas that I've birthed. Like, why can't I sell my placenta? Get $40,000.
That's like, right.
I'll pay for my education. But no, I can't do that. But the hospital, they take it, they sell it. That's fine.
That's right. I mean, $40,000, 40 grand as a young person. Well, do you know what? That's actually quite a nice little deposit for a house for your family.
Yeah. And it's
but you can't have it.
Yep. They take it and they profit off of it, and they make products and they use it for studies, and you know, all of our part for the like Suzanne Burling says, you know, the placenta, the amniotic fluid, they'll take the circumcision skin, like they use that in products too when they circumcise the boys. Yeah, I'm sorry, but you can't have any of my parts.
Or my kids' parts. And I tell you what, no woman is having any anti-wrinkle cream from Bix cut off my son. It ain't gonna happen.
Oh no, definitely not.
You can keep your crow's feet there, love, because he's keeping his end of his dick.
Yeah. I love it. Yes, and then you get like shit for saying that too. But I mean, come on, think about it. It doesn't make sense. We're born like this. It's a functioning part of the body. You know, the foreskin is there to maintain that. It's supposed to be a mucous membrane, just like our vaginas. You know, like it's supposed to lubricate and everything, and they're cutting that, you know, functioning part of these male bodies and then causing them issues and pains and ED and, you know, stuff like that for no reason, because some guy decided that it was going to help them not masturbate as much because, you know, that's
and then you've got this perpetual motion machine, which is the father says, I want my son to look like him. So now we're cutting the ends off our baby because of fashion.
Is it routine in Australia to do circumcision?
A lot of people, a lot of women do it. I'm not quite sure about what the statistics would be now, but I still believe women who hear that the husband's done, they automatically to default go and get their son done if the partner has been done. And unfortunately, it's making that break. It's making that change that will change it the following generation, because it's only one generation deep then, isn't it? If you can get your husband to recognize that he was actually manipulated and cut as a baby, and that shouldn't be happening to his, you change it then across the board in one generation.
Women who don't even know what an actual, you know, like a whole penis looks like. They don't even know what it looks like. Like I was in art school and we were drawing Santa. He looked like Santa. It was weird, but he wasn't circumcised. He was intact. And these girls were like, what's wrong with his penis? They asked this boy. And I was just listening to their conversation because it's not something my family has ever done. So I've, seen the babies and stuff. But and I also used to watch that Real Sex show, and it was pretty educational. It was really good. And so, they're like here whispering, what's wrong with his penis? And the boy's just like, I think he's just not circumcised. And I was like,
wow, it's so ugly. I'm like, penises are ugly anyway.
What do you want?
Circumcised or not?
Flowers on it? Like decorate it? What do you? I mean, it's not very cute, anyways.
No,
oh God.
no,
Okay. No. The ladies aren't gonna like this penis talk. Let's stop.
But no, again, it comes straight back in. I'm totally on the side of I don't think any genital mutilation should be on the cards for any human. I just think it's sick. Even adults, it's their body, their choice of a certain age. I'm sorry, no. I can't get my leg cut off and a wooden leg attached because I really love my pirate history and my pirate ancestry. So therefore, I have a relative, validation for a peg leg.
Oh, wow.
But again, that's the same. That's why female genital mutilation is a problem in these countries that do it. The same reason it happened to us, we find it acceptable, we're doing it to you. It's the same sort of issue. And that's where we're going to find this problem with the whole trans agenda moving forward too, that if that doctor has, what do they call it? Fucking AdFem, fucking assigned you male or assigned you female, then that doctor can unassign that, and you can be a boy when you're a girl, and you're a girl from a boy.
None of it matters, right?
Mommy says so, or daddy says so.
We're just meat Legos. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it just leads to more and more of this. Exactly. It's not good. But let me tell you the rest of the books I have and a few other things, because I think the kids are getting restless. They're like in the room.
Yeah.
But so this is a really good book because it's just like this great history of breastfeeding, a bicultural perspective. So lots of good information in there, facts about breastfeeding, its history, all of that. And I want to share this book. This is about the healers in Puerto Rico, the Earth and Spirit, medicinal plants and healing lore from Puerto Rico. And it's a lot of women, of course, the healers, and they talk about all the remedies and the things that they do for their communities. And it's fabulous. Like, it's so beautiful. So just like they healed their communities. Like this right here, this shows you that these people did not go to the hospitals, barred something really, really serious. Like these women, they would extract teeth, they would heal, the most severe issues. Of course they don't have like tests and stuff, so they can't determine like what someone might have had necessarily, but they know the cures. They can mix you up a concoction of this, this plant and that plant. It's just beautiful. So like, just a great book.
Oh my God. So it's literally full of what men would call old wives' tales.
Yes, all those lies, all of our, ignorance.
Those tales, those stories,
those witches. Those witches. Which they know that that's where all their medicine came from. All that stuff is what actually heals. They're not trying to heal. So in this book, A Woman's Book of Choices, this is great. It's, it's a little dated, but it still has really good information. It talks about the abortion pill. It talks about the women in the 70s, the Janes, what they did. And just lots of, and it has the Del M. So that's the menstrual extraction device that this woman designed. Because it was something they used, but she made a better version, of course, because they don't think about the fact that women actually have like nerves and feelings, and so they were just using these like not very nice tools. So she ended up getting like a something a little softer, like a rubber thing, instead of this like hard metal thing they were using. And it's just stuff you can get at Lowe's. You can make your own. You can do community menstrual extractions. And that's what the Janes were doing. Do you know the Janes, the women who came together to perform abortions right before it became illegal? These women had gathered, and they were just like, women would find all kinds of ways to contact them. They'd pick them up from an office, like a building, and take them to another place, and just did all these abortions before it was legal, and helped so many women. Helped so many women, because women were going to these back alley places, to the mobsters, the mafia. The mafia was doing abortions, okay, and charging these women like ridiculous amounts to get abortions, and then killing them because they weren't doing it right.
Absolutely.
And stuff. Then the women got together, and what did they do? They did it right, and they didn't kill women. They did not lose any women. They had one woman who came in, and I think she might have had an infection, and she left, and they didn't know what happened to her, but they didn't do it. She had already had an abortion, a back alley abortion. And she came to them, and they couldn't help her at that point because she already had an infection. So she had to go to a hospital. They don't know what happened to her. Yeah. So that's really sad, because they could have come, it's not like, it's a really relatively safe procedure. And women can take all these things back. We absolutely can take all of these things back. The thing is, if girls were educated from the start to track their cycles and know when they're fertile and when they're not, you're going to avoid a lot of need for abortion to begin with,
Absolutely,
barred from like rape and stuff like that. So great book. Definitely read that. And learn those skills. And if you can, like, help your community, connect with other birth workers, do community gatherings. Some of the women, I think, was a thing in like the 70s, that they would come together and look at their cervix together. I'm not really into that. I think if you can't really see it, maybe you don't need to, but it is educational. So if you feel the need, I'm not going to knock you for it. Personally, I don't feel the need to actually like open myself up and look but some women enjoy that, so they do, and it is educational. There's also a project called the Beautiful Cervix, where you can go online and you can see all these different cervix and see the like age. I think it says the age, if they've had babies prior or not. I think some of them are during menstruation, some of them are during ovulation. So like, it's very educational. It's great stuff.
That would be really good. That would be something I'd be very interested in.
Yeah,
seeing a visual like that. Sitting down with my sister and having a visual that way, not so much. But
yeah, I'm so grateful to the women who contributed these images. It is very educational, but I'm gonna keep mine under wraps. Thanks. Mine too. Whatever works for you. But I just want to recommend this book because this talks about the women and parthenogenesis and how we got here to where we are, the death of the goddess. And so it's the great cosmic mother, rediscovering the religion of the earth. And definitely it's a thick one. There's a woman on YouTube who's actually did a reading of it, because of course, they don't put these books out on Audible, right? Because they don't want you to read them. But on, what's her name? It's Cassandra. I want to say Cassandra Faye, I think, but you could probably just look up the title because she did a reading of it. If that'll help you get through it.
That's brilliant. I love that. Also because not everybody has time to read. Not everybody is the best reader. Like, come on, we we
have to start doing this. We have to start recording all these books that they won't.
Yeah. And that's what HG and I are hoping to do with the little book club that we have on the channel that we've started. Give a spot where you might not be able to read it yourself, but here's a review that you get the general gist, and then maybe you might want to buy it, maybe you do want to read it, But let's, instead of like, this was in a secondhand shop when I was a kid. It said, never look down at somebody unless you're willing to help them up.
All right.
Look, HJ's here. She's just popped in the house. Hey, HJ.
Oh, we're just talking about the books.
Yeah, we're just talking about the books and how we're excited. Me and HJ are excited to get that body of work over the next 12 months of so doing one a month if we can, and we'll have somewhere where we can point to and say, look, here's the book we read, here's the review, and you can share it, you can do whatever, you can say we did a crap job, I don't mind. But again, it's when people say you don't make the standard, how do we raise the standard? How do
Mhm.
we raise the women up to
Yep.
be knowledgeable and then have an opinion on a subject if we're not willing to have conversations or
Exactly.
discussions and books like that? So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Alexandra. Can I call you Alexandra?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can call me Alexandra. That's fine. I'm not in hiding. I mean, yeah, I feel pretty good about being in the open.
Yeah,
And
well, thank you so much.
yeah,
I
no, thanks
really
for having
value
me.
your absolute knowledge, your wealth of knowledge, the way that you speak and the way you articulate
Thank you.
this subject. And it's even if you're an older mother like me with older children, it's
Yeah.
never too late to step back and look at the trauma, and that's so true, that you went
Yes.
through in hospital and how that we can now support our children and
Mm-hmm.
our grandchildren moving forward as women in this, and also be able to put a hand up and say to our loved ones that are men, no,
Yep.
we got this.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, we got to
okay to
take it
say
back.
that.
We've got to take back all of these things. We got to take back birth. We got to build community for women. That's what's
Yeah,
gonna do it. And
yeah,
don't get distracted by these things. Oh, women can't get along. Well, no, we do. We do. We get along so well. I've just found the most beautiful, most supportive women. In these past years, like I've lost a lot of friends because of my views on this issue, on the gender issue, and the women, the turfs, all these bigots, horrible people. They've just come to they've just come together for me like no one ever has, like no other women ever have, really, because they know, because a lot of these women know. And you read Mary Daly, and she tells you about the token torturers and why we do these things we do, and it's all part of the plan to keep us down. So we have to we have to get past that. We have to realize that these are our traumas, and we have to heal them, and we have to give women grace. We really do. I try to give women lots of grace. I try to understand when they lash out, that's not me necessarily. Maybe it is. Maybe I was an asshole. I don't know. But when they lash out, a lot of times it's their trauma. It's something they're dealing with, and give them grace. Maybe they're going through like a horrible divorce and lost their children, or maybe they were incredibly abused or addicted, or I've come across all of that in this movement, and those women need grace. They need to be heard. And maybe you say, look, maybe this isn't the time to be talking to people right now, or I'm going to take a breath and step away from you, or whatever. But we just have to realize that these are our traumas, and we're all trying to heal, and I think we can help each other a little more with that.
absolutely. And just remembering too that, like, my gran may not have always been right, and
Yeah.
what she taught my mother probably may not have been right. And
Yeah.
what I was taught may not have been right. And being willing to step back and go, okay, where can I source that information afresh? Where can I sit and weigh it and
Mm-hmm.
contemplate it and take it in? And how can I move forward knowing that we are flawed humans? We are flawed humans. And we're not asking for permission to take our knowledge back.
Nope, we're taking it.
Our most wicked of women are
Start
taking
gathering
it back and
women
belongs to
locally.
us.
Gather the women. Start your community. I want to do village prenatals. So those are women coming together to do their own kind of pregnancy care, where you learn to, go inwards and communicate with your baby and your body, and just be out of the system. And you can palpate. You can learn to palpate. Feel where your baby is. People ask me, oh, well, how do you know your baby's head down? First of all, babies can come breech. Second of all, I know enough to know where my baby's head and butt is. Plus, I have a fetoscope. I don't recommend Dopplers. Those do cause issues. I believe truly they do. There are some studies, not enough, because of course that's another thing the medical industry uses, and they don't want you to think it's bad. But what we do, the other applications for ultrasound are to destroy, they use it for cellulite, so to destroy like fat cells and stuff. They use it to clean stuff. They use it to create bubbles in fluid, and then you all of a sudden have a bubble in your fluid. Gee, where did that come from? In your amniotic fluid. And I'm like, You know, so there's issues that women, you know, they've been so convinced that there aren't any, that these things are perfectly safe. Not only are they not perfectly safe, they don't even know all the risks because they don't do the studies, first of all. But then women do, because they observe. Women observe. We have our own science and our own wisdom. And I don't need some white coat to tell me because they haven't done the study yet. You know, like, and we observe and we see these things, and they don't improve outcomes. That's what women don't understand either. So many of these tests and things that they do to you in the medical industry don't improve outcomes. What they do, what I see mostly, is them stressing women out for nothing.
Yep.
And in the end, they don't have a big baby. They don't have a breech baby. They don't have low fluids. They don't, you know, your fluids get lower at the end, but they'll use that to scare you and say you don't have enough fluid, but yet that's a normal part of the process. Yeah, things that are normal parts of the process, they use as scare tactics. And it's really heartbreaking. Because I just see women doing this. Even when I talk to them, I'll tell them, but they're still so in that mindset that they haven't broke out of it yet, that they're not hearing my words. They're just hearing what their doctor's saying. And so then they end up at the end realizing that I was, you know, right, and what I said was true. And, you know, it's at that point it's too late, but sometimes that's how we have to learn, right? So I mean,
the white coat mind control, the white coat brainwashing is so full on. That's why all those old dentist ads were so popular. Hello, Rod. We can't show you your face on TV, but he's wearing a white cloak, so it must be good, you know?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's it's the whole God complex. They think they are, and you know, they can save you. They're going to save you. I don't trust anybody that tells me they're going to save me. Not a midwife, not a doula, not a doctor. You're not going to save me. That's on me, you know. And that's the thing about, you know, speaking of free birth specifically, is that those women, or they should have anyways, if they've done the work, take full responsibility. Whatever happens to me is my responsibility. Whatever happens to my baby is my responsibility. No one else is to blame for that. Where I've seen, you know, women who go on assisted or free birth and they want to blame somebody else for convincing them to stay home or whatever, or do this or that. It's like, no, when you choose to free birth, that's on you. That is your responsibility. You have now decided that you are going to take whatever you get, and you're making your choices. If you want a midwife there, you know, then that's your choice. But the midwife isn't going to save you either.
No.
Nobody's going to save you. Don't expect that. You're powerful and you got this, you know? Yes. Like that's the mindset you have to go into it. And within reason, you know, and if your instinct's telling you have to go get something checked out, then you go get something checked out. Absolutely. We can have balance. It's just that the medical system, you know, they're not made for that. They want everybody in there to make as much money as possible, because if we were just picking and choosing and going in when it was absolutely necessary, you know, there's not much profit in that, because if we were healthy, we wouldn't be going to them. You know, it would be very rare, because I mean, pregnancy can also be healing. All we hear is like, oh, it's scary and it's, you know, it causes all these issues, these health issues. It destroys your body. Actually, it heals your body. The stem cells are sent out to your body when you're pregnant. People, I mean, they just don't know. Women are healed. Things go into remission. Certain issues have gone into remission. My cousin-in-law, she has this like rare bleeding, rare like blood disorder. And she said that women it's gone into remission when they've gotten pregnant. If they get pregnant, it's kind of hard, but if they get pregnant, their condition, they'll be able to carry that pregnancy, and then it, you know, might come back after. But yeah, it can be healing. If you're nurtured, you're not going to be depleted of nutrients, you know. What else was it? Your pelvic floor. Everyone wants to talk about the pelvic floor, because all they're doing are Kegels. So then you just have this obsession with tightness, and it can't just be tight. It has to be able to relax. You have to have relaxed muscles. You have to be able to, you know, so they're just holding their pee in, which is, don't do that. Don't hold your pee in. You're going to get a freaking UTI. Like, if you're going to do your Kegels, you know, you feel like you need some strength, just sit there and, you know, move those muscles. But you also need to massage. Orgasm is great. Massaging. You want to massage yourself? That's great. You want your partner to massage you? That's great. These things are all very helpful to your pelvic floor. But just doing Kegels and tightening, that causes prolapse and other issues. And women, are not told these things. And then after birth, the doctor goes in, oh, everything's fine, and that's it. And then you go off and on your way, and nobody looks at it again. And then you're peeing yourself, and oh, it's normal. No, it's common.
Don't worry about it.
Normal. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's normal. It just happens to everyone. No, it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. And we women, we have got to share this information if we are actually looking to help women and children and society. Oh, okay.
All right, we'll call it third. Well, she's so gorgeous.
I could just go on and on. My kids are getting so restless.
So good. Like, we've been on for 2 hours.
I'm gonna have to go hug everyone and apologize and like give them some lollipops or something.
Yeah. Look, Pinwheel, I'd love to have you back at another time if you'd like to come back for another chat.
Adore you. I just think I love your hat. I got my witch's hat too. So when I saw you here doing your thing, doing the speaking events and in your witches, I was like, that's I love her. You should be all over the place. You should have so many more subscribers. And so, yeah, anytime I am happy to come back. And someday I'm going to get to Australia and hang out with you.
Well, as soon as it gets cool enough here, I'm breaking out some of my reenacting costumes. We're going to do a little bit of a suffragette type thing. I'm going to do a one-woman's pilgrimage in parks around where I live, looking for single-sex toilets and explaining to people why men shouldn't be in them. So I've got like me.
Oh, I love it.
My little sash here. It's got dust on it, but that's okay. I got my little sash.
We have to hibernate a little while for winter. It's fine. Everything's a little dusty. We'll dust it off.
Defend the right to organize.
Oh, nice. Oh, I really like that one.
So we can wear that. And I've got my big floofy skirts. And I've got my little parasol. And I've got, which is not in the room here, what I've got is a chamber pot attached to a chain. So I'm going to drag that bitch everywhere and rattle it and say we do not want the urinary leash back on. I say no.
I can't wait. Oh my goodness. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm going to get VF 555. We're going to go to Australia. Come on, VF. Let's get some tickets.
Come visit me in Queensland. It's just like Florida.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love VF. That's my
we have mangoes here. We have mangoes.
Mangoes. Oh, yeah. Give me some mangoes. I'll take it. I'm convinced. Let's go.
All right, Pinwheel and everybody who joined the chat today. Thank you for coming. I'll love you for now. We'll talk to you later. Remember, stay loud, my friends, because it's so important to just get it out there and talk and share. And until next time, Stone out, Pinwheel out.
Peace.
Thanks, Pinwheel.
See ya.
See you, love.
I'm going to do this.